Max, what's popping?
The pads are popping, dude. They put them on today in fall camp at Florida State University. Our 100-yard indoor practice facility was electric with the sounds, the sights, and the smells of fall practice, and I'm ready to talk about it.
And so are we. And folks, thank you guys so much for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every single day. But with that being said, let's go on with the show.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to another edition of Locked On Seminoles. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Drake here, and today I got Mr. Maximus Moodicus, a.k.a. Max Moody, a.k.a. Best Girl Dad that I know, in the house tonight. Max, how's it hanging, my guy?
You're going to make me blush, bud. It's hanging good, man. It's hanging good. It's 8:44 here on a Tuesday night. I actually did a lot at work today, but that's not what the folks came to hear about. They want to hear about football. So, dude, kick us off. What are you hearing? What do you know? What do you say? What's going on with the Noles?
Well, we are turning up on a Tuesday, and as you said in the intro, fall camp has hit, and fall camp also is fully padded. Folks, typically we didn't go too deep into fall camp when it was just shells because typically players are a little faster. Your offense would be a lot easier to play with, basically without the pads. And then pads came on today, and boy, the offensive line had a very decent day today. Also, you look at Jared Verse, basically you can kind of see with hit the pads on, that is a very, very large human being. But overall, also, we hear that the QBs are performing well. One, Mr. Tate Rodemaker, I just saw him making the timeline actually rounds. No, we're not doing that. You're not doing that again?
No more Tate Rodemaker. No Tate Rodemaker this year, dude. We do this every year. And I love Tate, sort of. I mean, I can't dislike someone I don't really know. But the thing is, man, it's like every year, it's like, oh, is this going to be Tate Rodemaker's year? It's like, it's the same thing that we've said with Mike Norvell, man. It's just show me or just stop talking about it because, you know what I mean? Like, we've gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, we heard this 2 years ago that he, out of the 2 4-stars, he's actually looking pretty good. And then it's like, oh, well, yeah, okay, we didn't see him on the field. And then the next year, it's like, he actually could push for starting reps this year. James Blackman's not, or I guess Blackman was gone by that point, right?
I believe so, yes.
I forget the saga of James Blackman, right? He wasn't here in 2021. Wait. Hey, what happened in the Jacksonville State game? The first one. Was Blackman still here?
No, Blackman was here, but Tate Rodemaker started the game.
And Tate started.
Yes.
Right. So Tate, that's right, because Tate got here in 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Tate starts in 2020 as a freshman, throws a pick six on his first throw, I think, or second throw, right?
Second throw.
And he goes out there, throws another interception, and then they're like, all right, fine, we'll try Jordan Travis, I think. I've blocked a lot of this out. And then last year, it's like, well, maybe he could compete. And we saw the same stuff on the field. Like, with Tate, I guess now we're doing a whole segment on Tate Rodemaker on it just because we're talking about how we don't want to.
We won't. We'll talk about quarterbacks in general because mainly I think – go ahead.
You just see flashes with him, right? You see the Miami game 2 years ago when we were getting killed, and he came in and, he made some decent throws. And you see the play in the spring game that was probably a sack. They blew it dead, but when he did let go of the ball and the ball was caught for a touchdown across the middle, that was a pretty nice throw. He hung in there under pressure. But until he shows me that he has learned how not to just stare at his primary receiver, lock in on him, and throw interceptions to the flat, I don't really have any interest in entertaining the conversation of, like, where's Tate going to be this year?
Well, are you going to entertain the comments by Mike Norvell today? He's basically saying that AJ Duffy is actually probably one of the more quickest learners as a freshman QB coming in. He actually has very high hopes for him. Does that give you any reason for optimism that he might actually be someone that we can actually – because right now we have no high school QBs committed, and we probably most likely will be going for the transfer portal route. And you and I both are kind of the same agreement where we don't think Jordan Travis will be at FSU playing football next year. Does that actually give you more – kind of we said this early on in fall camp, that AJ Duffy actually will be a solid answer for 2023.
Yeah, look, I've kind of alluded to this, but the more I think about it, he better be, right? Like, why did you bring him in if he's not going to start here? That's the way I look at it. You bring kids in to play football. We know that kids come in as projects. We know that every kid is not going to start during their time at Florida State, but with a quarterback, why bring him onto the roster if you don't think, hey, he could play football at this school one day? Now, there may be levels to it, right? You may say, well, I'm bringing in 2, like we've talked about, and I think that's going to be my main guy. But the other guy you bring in, you still think he could start for me. Like, I use Sean McGuire as an example. Sean McGuire was brought in as a depth piece. Everyone knows that, but Jimbo never hesitated, like, to play him when he needed to as the backup, right, against, like, who was it, against Clemson when Jameis was suspended, or going into the next year, he brought in Everett Golson, but he still let Sean compete, and he ended up putting Sean out there. And, yeah, you think these kids could start, so, yeah, expect him to be, like, of a caliber where one day AJ Duffy could be the starting quarterback. Does it make me feel amazing about going into next year?
Well, not amazing,
like, but
more
it makes you feel better.
Comfortable.
For sure.
So yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what we're hoping at, is because we brought on Todd Purdy. He gets hurt during the scrimmage, breaks collarbone, and then probably only sees the field once, like 2 more times, and once against Louisville. Sorry, also against NC State, where we had the Tate Rodemaker, Todd Purdy go back and forth, and then once last year against UMass. And I think it's just really nice to see that actually. That one, I think Mike has learned his lesson when it comes to live QBs, during a scrimmage, which hopefully we have to see AJ Duffy doing that. But we have given Mike a lot of flack for his, I would probably say, the mismanagement of the QB room as a whole, whether it be high school QBs, decision making. I mean, I think we were on here, showed that we didn't publish, but when we were kind of practicing before we started the podcast, that why would you start James Blackman after you saw the Arizona State game? But now it feels like he finally kind of has someone actually with a solid proof of concept in AJ Duffy.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, it was one day. All right, people have good days. People have bad days. But the most important thing is that sports progression is not linear, as much as it feels like it should be. You don't just get better every day, right? It's more like this. There's peaks, there's valleys. Obviously, as y'all know, I didn't play D1 quarterback, but I can tell you from a golf perspective and from how that improvement goes, like, you don't walk out there and shoot – an 88, then an 84, and then an 81, and then a 76, and then you never go over 80 again, right? You shoot like a bunch of 82, 83s, and then one day you go super low down to a 74, 73, and then you can't break 80 again for 2 weeks. That's how sports work. So one great day, first day with pads, it's encouraging to hear, but I'm not going to over-index on it.
You don't over-index on it, but Jordan Travis also did perform decently well. I think he got off to a little more of a slower start today, actually, at practice, but you saw actually the comfortability with someone, as we talked about, I think, yesterday with Johnny Wilson, which I actually have a high hopes for him as a weapon in this offense this coming year. But, folks, we were missed here at Locked On Seminoles. We talk about friends over at betonline.net. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get all your latest sports action, and today's line of the day is one personal to Max's heart. For those of you that are new here, welcome. Please like, share, and subscribe to the video. But also, Max's probably idol or mentor, if you will, is one Pat Fitzgerald, the head coach over at Northwestern. Week 0, Northwestern is a 13-point underdog to Nebraska. Max, what should the people take here on August 27th, the same day? Actually, I think it's before the Duquesne game. So what should the audience take here, actually, to hopefully get some money in their wallets?
This game's in Ireland, right?
I think so. Maybe. Let me double check. Go ahead.
Yeah, this game's in Ireland. Like, what's the name? What's the name of the Cornhuskers coach? Scott Frost. No, you're not going to bet against a guy named Patty Fitz from frickin' Chicago over in Dublin, Ireland. Are you high? There's 2 things you don't bet against. 1, the U.S. and World Wars. 2, people named Patty Fitz from cities like Chicago when they are in a competition of manhood or womanhood, of just general toughness over in the native country of Ireland. Like, that, come on, man. That's like, you can give me any odds on that. I'm putting it on the money line, dude. That's a freaking layup.
So, folks, for Max's lock for week 0, it is Northwestern plus 13, and also not only a money line sprinkle, but a money line dump. And head over to betonline.net today. Use promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON to get a 100% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Once again, promo code Locked On, LOCKEDON. BetOnline, where the game starts. Go Patty Fitz.
They are actually playing
in Aviva Stadium.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's sponsored by Aer Lingus, which is the Irish airline.
Aer Lingus.
It's called Aer. Yes, it's called Aer Lingus.
Nice.
That's what they've named their national airline, and they've stuck with it. It looks like a great pitch out there. Hopefully, the grass. I think they figured out now, like, hey, if you're going to have American football over, you can't. What was the problem the first time we tried to do that? A few times the grass over there is longer and slicker, so the ball rolls on it in soccer. The good news about Ireland is they play a lot of sports similar to American football, right? It's not like England where it's just football. It's association football, right? And rugby football. In Ireland, they've got hurling, they've got Gaelic football. I think there's
Hurling
one
is
other.
dope, actually.
Yeah, there's one other game they play on grass. So their groundskeepers know how to make grass suitable for the type of play that you see in American football. And ultimately, yeah, I mean, come on, dude, you can't. Like, they're a double home team. Pat Fitzgerald plus Chicago is like the #1 Irish city in the world outside of Ireland. So come on.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this in here. Actually, love the conversation, but we'll go from the pitch back to the gridiron. See what I did there? But we heard about basically one player in particular in spring that was performing extremely well. And we heard, the comparisons is way too early, but you hear the Jalen Ramsey, the length, the tenacity, the kind of the dog in him. Azaryeah Thomas is still continuing to be probably one of your better defensive backs. Max, do you think he could potentially actually start at corner earlier in the season than we projected?
I don't see why not. I mean, he's already got the size. What is he, 6'1", 6'2", listed at about 195 pounds, I think. He's incredibly long. He's very prototypical of the modern cornerback. He's got long arms. He's rangy. He's quick. He's also really, really smart. I watched his interview today. Again, I haven't gotten down to practice yet, hoping to get there a week after next. But he's just really, really smart. You can tell he understands the game. Everything is very polished almost. Like, you wouldn't think it's an interview of an 18-year-old kid. Everything's very, yes, sir, this, that, the other. He also is able to, I think some kids, when they're overcoached on interviews, they just tend to say absolutely nothing. And he does give moderately insightful answers while you can tell he's still being cognizant of what's coming out of his mouth. And again, look, we put these kids on a pedestal. Oh, so go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, like, briefly, like, I noticed that with Fabian Lovett at ACC Media Days was kind of the same thing. You can tell that he definitely, like, there's meaning and purpose behind every single one of his answers.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I think he gives a good interview. You can tell there's a lot of thought to the game. So his brother, I think, played linebacker at Georgia Tech or running back, something like that.
I think it was defensive back, actually, still, too.
Was it? Okay. But
Azaryeah Thomas, I think, right?
Yeah, so I knew about that one. He said in the interview he had another one. So he's had two brothers play college football. So he's like, he has mentors here coaching him up on how to do this. So you can tell you can tell he was here for the spring. I mean, that I can't quantify how much that has to help, right? Like, think about when y'all were in high school, going from freshman year to sophomore year, just the confidence you had walking into your sport of choices practice, not being the youngest folks there. I mean, heck, just knowing where the water fountains were, right? Like, that gives you another level of, I know what's going on. So you can tell he's got that comfortability. And I think we've heard he's got 3 pick sixes so far in the span of 5 practices.
Yeah, I think I had 2 yesterday, actually, too, which is fucking phenomenal. It's something that you really want to hear. And just when he first committed here, I was one of the first people to say that I think that he definitely will be the better defensive back out of himself than Sam McCall. I still think highly of Sam McCall. I think Sam McCall will be a really good player. But this kind of shows where I think the staff, Norvell, Woodson in general, did a really, really solid job by picking up basically a player who Billy Napier, when coming to Florida, basically kind of had missed his evaluation. And now we're bringing in Azaryeah Thomas, who you discussed it, when he first committed, he's a very athletic player. But we were going to be able to see whether or not he was able to translate that lesson to basically playing pure defensive back, because if I remember correctly, he played wide receiver and defensive back in high school. So I'm actually very excited to see him make that full transition. The thought of pairing him with Amarion Cooper, who is going to be a dog, and Kevin Knowles in the slot too, and then we also have Renardo Green, who's finally fully healthy and playing very well. That's very tantalizing for a defensive backfield that basically has been very decent, but now it's hopefully be able to fulfill the DBU kind of mantra we have here.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I like that he's not playing receiver. I think it'd be tempting to throw him out there, but I think for the way his development projects long term, you want a guy like that in your secondary. And I think the fact all of his reps are coming in the defensive backfield, I don't know if that speaks to the confidence of Norvell and co with the receiver room, or if that's just his skill set really isn't aligned to a college DB skill or a wide receiver skill set. But yeah, I mean, one man's trash is another man's treasure. We got lucky with him. The reality is he should be at Oklahoma or Florida. They both turned over their coaching staffs, one because of a firing, one because of a willing departure. But either way, hey, I'm really happy he's here. I think McCall, we don't hear as much about, but I think folks should probably not panic too much because McCall is more of the standard what you expect from freshman DBs. What Thomas is doing right now isn't normal. It's not. It's just not what you expect out of a kid stepping onto campus. And again, I think it goes back to he's got brothers that have done this. He was basically coached by them on what to expect, how to conduct yourself in a college program, which I have to imagine is a huge advantage. And he's just an athletic mutant. So, yeah.
I mean, we can basically call our defensive backfield. I mean, you look at, I was saying, Sam McCall, you just said, Renardo Green, Jamie Robinson, Azaryeah Thomas. We basically have like the Avengers back there. I mean, it's kind of like, I know it's fall camp and I know it's elite live season, but I feel this is the one sort of thing that actually we can I'm extremely pumped. Don't think I've been this excited about the defensive backfield as a whole since 2014?
Yeah, it's a tough spot to gauge because people underestimate how many good defensive backs you need to have a productive defensive backfield. And it's not something that three guys can do for you, right? You in the modern day college football era have to have 5 to 7 guys that can play at a very high level, and they will set your floor. Whatever your best 5 to 7, let's call it 6 for sake of argument, that's going to set your floor because that's your quarters package, right? Like that's what, 3 down linemen, you're running like a 3-3. So what did I say, 6? We'll call it 6 because you need someone that can back them up if you're in like a 3-3-5 stack, or if I guess you're in a 3-2-6. Either one, you need 5 or 6 guys to set the floor of the room right now. So we know that Iggy Thomas is playing really well. Again, is it going to be consistent though? Like right now, he's going up against a receiver room that unfortunately isn't the most gifted receiver room that you can have. Point. Yeah. I spoke to someone who spoke to someone that really knows this stuff, and they were like, "Yeah, the receiver room's that's still coming along. Don't count your chickens before it hatches on that one." But we already knew that, especially if you listen to this program. You've got a couple guys coming back from last year that you mentioned. You got guys like Sidney Williams, who you wonder, okay, is this going to be the year where he really turns the corner, or is he going to just be kind of that come down near the ball, hard thumping safety that is a bit of a liability in coverage like we saw in that Jacksonville State game? Is Duke Cooper going to take the step forward that we need him to take? Because here's the thing, Drake. Last year, he was really good for a freshman. Go watch the Miami game. Into the game, 3 of the last 4 plays were thrown at him, and he defended all 3 of them. But there's a difference between really good for a freshman and then when you're a sophomore, and now you just have to be really good or bad.
All the time, yeah.
Exactly. So, we'll see if there's enough bodies in that room to elevate the floor to where it needs to be for us to say, like, this is an elite room. But I agree with you. I'm as excited as I've been about individual names on the roster since probably 2015.
And that's why it was so important that we picked up Malik Feaster, the defensive back transfer from Jacksonville State the other day. I mean, he had 38 starts at Jacksonville State. So you already know that the resume is there, the practices are there, albeit on the FCS level. But unfortunately, he also does have experience in beating an FBS team and also taking them in the wire several times. All right, Max, towards the end of today's episode, I feel that basically there was one player in particular you were very fond of, not mainly because of basically his background when he actually entered FSU, but also his development from a very raw prospect to now where you actually see him today. DJ Lundy is actually continuing to play extremely well. Like DJ Lundy has gone from basically someone who wrestled in high school, you can tell in his freshman year, that he didn't know where to go when it comes to gap filling. You had a really good series about that. And then now he's actually fine to be probably your 3rd best linebacker. What do you make of that?
Is it bad that to me DJ Lundy is kind of in Tate Rodemaker camp? Where it's
no, you're giving up on him already?
We got to see. I don't know. Look,
come on, man. Give your boy some
love.
He's
lost like 20 pounds. I mean, that's exciting stuff. He's a big body. But I don't know what he offers you that other guys don't. And here's what I mean, right? You've got your Tatum Bethune at 6'1", 230 pounds, right? So he's basically the same size as DJ Lundy, even though Lundy's lost, again, about 20 pounds. So you've kind of got that role filled. And in the defensive scheme that this team runs, that Adam Fuller wants to run, it does highlight and rely a lot more on fast linebackers that can sort of do it all, right? We'll have some of that in the safety position like we saw with Hamza when he was here in 2020, but we need more of the guys like the Brennan Gantz and like what we've been hoping Amari Gainer is going to become to emerge. And I just don't know where DJ Lundy fits in on this roster. Like if Tatum Bethune, who had groin surgery in the spring, goes down, is he a serviceable reserve? I hope so. But I can tell you, I will be a bit concerned if the season starts and we go out there against Duquesne and DJ Lundy is trotting out there to start the game.
Yeah, I mean, the issue I know with Tatum Bethune with the groin. I had a good friend of mine who actually played. Oh, you good? You good? Are you good over there? You good over there?
I bumped a cord.
You bumped the cord. I mean, nice catch. I mean, hopefully he can teach wide receivers to catch the ball like that too. But with the groin injury, I had a friend of mine who played football in high school. He actually was teammates with Kenny Shaw. And basically I want to say he pulled his groin, I want to say, towards the end of his junior season. He did it again his senior season and did it again when we played Ultimate Frisbee intramurals. So with a groin injury, I don't expect Tatum Bethune to fully actually be fully 100% ready or be able to be a full go till maybe 4 to 5 games. Because with a groin, it takes a lot out of you. And it's basically one of your most important parts of your body, especially with a sport like football. So that would be a little more concerning for me personally. So, and if he does go down, I don't have faith in Amari Gainer to be your number 2 linebacker. With DJ Lundy,
no, you got to hope it's Steven Dix. I think you have to hope that this is when Steven Dix comes alive. Yeah, I mean, he to me is the one that's got to bridge the gap, and I think Amari has gotten better every year. I really am not counting him out. I think that he can still be a pretty serviceable piece for you. Now, look, is Amari Gainer the type of linebacker that you want to have on a national championship football team? Probably not. But guess what? As we've said all over Twitter, you're not winning national championships this year anyway. What we need are guys that can help us win the football games that are on our schedule. The beauty is when you suck, you don't get invited to things like college football playoffs or BCS bowls, right? Like we're not going to play Ohio State. We're not going to play Oregon. We're not going to go out there and have to play Alabama and those folks. Like we're going to play the teams that we have to line up against, which, sorry to tell you, but are a bunch of average teams in the national landscape because you're in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and our out-of-conference draw is an LSU team that, despite having like 20 NFL players on the roster last year, could barely scrape together 6 wins. So if that's the standard and that's what we're going for, then yeah, I think that Amari Gainer is probably a pretty decent piece to help you accomplish that goal. And I think the bridge between him and the kind of second tier and DJ Lundy is Steven Dix. He's the connector there, and it's just which way is he going to go? Is he going to jump up into that tier of like he can be a serviceable starter to accomplish what we need to accomplish this year? Or is this the year where we go, not all 4 stars work out once they get to your campus, and we're glad we landed him in class, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're saying, I mean, correct. I think the best, if Amari Gainer starts, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I think it's just more that he has shown that he did improve in coverage last year, but he definitely is seen more as basically targeted for coverage. DJ Lundy, you kind of seem to take a step forward with that. I'm the same way. With Steven Dix, I mean, we haven't heard much from him even in spring or even in fall, so I don't know exactly where he kind of falls in the pecking order when it comes to basically the depth chart. So basically for a position group that actually have a lot of high hopes for, I think it is going to basically boil down to, as it always does with this team, how healthy the position group is. We did that with last year with the offensive line. We've done that for the past 3 seasons with Jordan Travis. And now we finally seemingly have the pieces for the linebacking room. We just now hopefully they can stay fully healthy coming into 2022.
Yeah, and the beauty of this linebacking core is that you have a defensive back heavy scheme. So you don't need, unlike what I said about the defensive backs, you don't need like 7 great linebackers. You just need kind of 3, right? You need a good Fox, which, again, we're kind of hoping Amari Gainer can be. You need your decent coverage guy, right? And that's what you have in Kalen DeLoach that you saw emerge last year. And you need that guy that can be the run stopper, that can hold down sort of the middle of the field, that can come down to the line if he needs to. And again, we're really hopeful that that's Tatum Bethune. And if it's not, if he gets hurt, if he takes a few weeks to get back into the swing of things, hopefully it's Steven Dix or DJ Lundy. And we're going to have to see, man. But the linebackers, I'm everything I said about the DBs and feeling good about names on that roster. I don't know if I feel the opposite for linebackers, but I certainly feel closer to the opposite than I do to feeling.
But you feel better than last year, though, right?
I mean, I can't feel worse than last year. Oh my gosh, dude! Did you watch our linebackers play?
Oh god, I mean, like, it wasn't just last year. I mean, it was the year before. But I mean, I do agree with that over there with the linebacking core. I mean, like, it's exciting. We have Ken Deloach, we have Amari Gaynor, we have Tam Bethune, and folks, we have each and every single one of you to thank for actually allowing us to do this show each and every single day, 5 days a week now. Max, tell the folks at home what to do on the podcast level and also how to hit us up on YouTube.
What to do on the podcast level is remember to turn your lights on, folks. Apparently, I didn't do that, so sorry that you've been staring at me in darkness this whole time. But if you made it through, regardless, there it is. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast channel here on YouTube, or that you follow us in whatever medium through which you get your podcasts: Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Pods, Google Pods, all that good stuff. And make sure that you like the individual video, leave comments, leave 5-star reviews, tell us all the things, and find us on Twitter at Noles Anonymous. Collectively, I'm Max Moody 17. He is Tally__Drake. And this was Locked On Seminoles.
Take care, everybody, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
So much better with the lights on.
You're so pale.
I do my best.